All right, the first ornament that I'm going to walk you through creating is how to create our little Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer head. And we're going to start with this ornament and this design because it teaches us how to use the scoring tool and the runner, and we get to use our glass cutter. So we go over all of the tools that are in your kit. Now, my ornament is on an angle, so I'm going to have a corner pointed towards me on that base piece. And now I'm going to cut a triangle from my piece of brown, starting with my scoring tool. Before I make any cuts or scratches though, I am going to draw a triangle with the point of my triangle starting at the edge of the glass that's closest to me. And the Sharpie burns off in the kiln, so we don't need to worry about that black line showing up on our final project. And we're going to use our scoring tool to scratch this straight line. When we use our scoring tool, we hold it halfway in between the top and the bottom. Where the two angles come together at the bottom is a little wheel, and that wheel needs to stay on the glass. So to keep the wheel on the glass, we're going to pick up our elbow. That way our scoring tool stays straight up and down. We're going to start on the edge of the glass that is closest to us at the tip of that triangle, lean down onto the glass, and then you're going to push, or you can pull the scoring tool from one edge of the glass to the other. Now we're going to make our other scratch, starting at the tip of our triangle. We're going to lean down, and again we can push or pull, but we have to get from one edge of the glass to the other. Now I want you to remember that your speed getting across your glass is more important than tracing your black line. So we want to move the scoring tool more than trace the black line. Now to break the glass where we scratched it, we're going to use our runner to do that. Make sure the gold bolt points up on the runner. You have a gold line on top of the flat surface of the tool. You're going to put that gold line on top of your scratch, so the gold line and the center of the tool are pointed at the other end of the scratch, and we see glass on both sides of that flat surface. And then with one hand and a gentle squeeze like we use scissors, we get to break the glass apart. Now it doesn't always break on the first squeeze, so we might need to make adjustments where we hold the runner on our scratch. We might need to reach further away from the edge where we scratch, or we might even need to turn that piece of glass all the way around and get lined up from the other side of the scratch so that we can squeeze and break the glass. Now I want to make sure that my reindeer head fits on my base piece, so I'm gonna put that whole thing on the square base piece for the ornament. And I can see that it hangs off the edge here, and that's a no-no. No glass hanging off the edge. So I'm gonna draw a line about where I want the top of my reindeer head to be. I'm gonna bring that off my base piece, grab my scoring tool. I want it to scratch the glass, so I pick up my elbow, lean onto the tool. It's on the glass on the edge closest to me, and then I push from one edge of the glass to the other. Now to break the glass where I scratched it, I make sure my gold bolt points up on the runner, get that gold line on top of my scratch so the center of the tool points at the other end, and now I have glass sticking out both sides of that flat surface, and I get to squeeze like I use scissors. And now I have made the head for my reindeer. Now to make the ears for the reindeer, I'm going to use my glass cutters to do that. I pick up some of those scraps, the leftover pieces of brown, and I'm going to clip kind of a triangle corner, but I don't want it pointy on one end, so I'm going to clip that piece off. And now I have one ear. Now I'm going to do the same thing with this other piece. Clip off the ear, and now I have two ears for my little reindeer. Now to give Rudolph a red nose, I'm going to take one of my red beads that I poured out into my bowl, and to give him some eyes, I'm going to take those black beads and set those down and give him his eyes. Now to give him his antlers, we're going to take the curls, and we're going to hold them close to his head where we want to cut them to make them the right length. We're going to use the glass cutters to do that now. When we squeeze the handles together, the discs come together. That's where they're cutting the glass. We're gonna bring those together and clip off a piece of a curl. And now I'm gonna do it again, kind of measure out how long I want that. Now we can always make them shorter, but we can't make them longer. So it's okay if they're a little long right now. So I'm gonna set that down. Well, it does hang off the edge of the glass, so I do need to cut that a little bit shorter. I'm gonna cut off this end. And then I set that down. That gives him his antlers. This one's a little long as well, so I'm gonna clip off just a little bit of that. And so now Rudolph has his antlers. All right, this is where the tweezers come in handy. The tweezers are good for all these little curls that we might be using, and they help us have a more steady hand when we are working with our pieces of glass. Scoot his head right back up here. All right, now Rudolph has his antlers and his nose, and we are almost done. Now, to get your ornament back to the studio, you're gonna have to glue it down using the glue that we provided for you. Now, it doesn't take a lot of glue. We're gonna need just a couple of drips of glue. So if your glue has a lid, take that lid off, and we're gonna put a drop of glue on each antler. We're gonna put a drop of glue where an ear meets the body. We're gonna put a drop of glue where his nose meets his body, and then on each of his eyes. Now, the glue is very liquidy, it's mostly water, and it's gonna take a while to dry. So right now, you're still gonna be able to move pieces, but it will dry eventually. So I want you to pick up your base piece, and you're gonna set that up and off to the side and to let that dry. And so that is our first ornament and your introduction to how to use the glass cutters to cut the glass, and how to use your scoring tool and your runner to scratch and break the glass.